Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Too Cool session tonight. And I'm your host, John Ngong. Today, we'll be speaking to Wani. Wani's right here. You can see him. Hi, Wani.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, Tokola House. I'm doing well. So
Welcome to
pretty.
the
It's a
Too
pleasure
Cool.
having me.
Thank you for
This
joining
is a
us.
home of wisdom.
Thank you very much. And we really appreciate your time, the time you're given us tonight to speak to us and also, interact with our community, the Too Cool community. And also for giving our Too Cool community the chance later to talk to you. Usually this is just an interaction. It's a communication. We are doing it online right now. If we were doing it physically, we would be taking tea, would be eating full mudamas, things like that as we talk, I can see your cup of coffee there or tea, whatever. That's nice. That's awesome. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so I'll give you an opportunity, to say hi to our audience and maybe a little bit of yourself and, talk to us, and then we dive into our conversation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, the Tokol community, and thank you, John, especially for your invitation and for a specific topic that you have chosen for me to talk about. I'm Wani Stephen. I'm always good in terms of doing a lot of my mentorship work, speaking to youth, speaking to different leaders, speaking to any group of people that I'm invited to speak in different topics of interest that I'm given. So today, we'll be talking clearly in terms of public speaking. I've been doing a lot of this engagement. I've been doing a lot of this inspirational or a motivational speaker as an analyst. I always take it key note that public speaking is one of the key ingredients of our personality as an individual or as an institution. So feel free, let's interact, and that's all about me, Wani Stephen.
Thank you, Wani, for the introduction. That was something I was trying to give a shot. Should I introduce you? I'll be like, hey, I'll be underestimating the the whole spectrum of what you do around public speaking and public engagement, by the way, specifically the youth that you mentioned there. And I'm happy that you introduce yourself to our audience, and I think to me that sounds big already, Now,
thank you.
Yeah, I just feel happy that today I've got the opportunity to talk to you, Wani, and also have the colleagues in the room. I came across this concept, around public speaking. Somebody said, people fear, like the number one fear of people of an average person is the fear of speaking in public. And what comes after that is the fear. Actually, it comes before the fear of death. So it literally means somebody would rather die than speak in public. And I was like, this could be true, And a few times I have tried trying to speak in public, and man, all of a sudden it started with an anxiety out of nowhere.
You start sweating.
I feel my palms sweating, and my energy level is just raised out of nowhere. And I'll be like, where is this coming from? Where is all this coming from? Yeah, so maybe you would like to share with us, Wani, why do we have the fear of speaking in public, or even what is public in the first place? Because sometimes I could be talking to you and we are two people, I'm okay. But if I add on the third person, the fourth, 100, a crowd, I'm already into the anxiety mode, So yeah, maybe a bit of background to that.
Oh, okay, thank you. As you stated clearly, public speaking is one of the key things that we do. And it's a very important aspect of our life. It's a very important aspect of our career. It's a very important aspect of our institutions. And it is a very critical aspect about our strategy as an organization. So Most of the people say, I fear speaking in the public. I cannot give a speech, or John should give the speech, or Mr. Thomas Longer should give the speech, or Joseph should be given. Joseph is good in public speaking, or Philip. It's because, that anxiety, that anxiety of let's say, of fear in terms of speaking. That anxiety is too much when it comes to public speaking, because it is the first time people tell you to speak or to prepare a speech. You say, for me, so-and-so is good in preparing speech.
Yes.
Or for me, I cannot speak in public, or because of ABCD, I'm having a throat problem, or I'm having a pronunciation problem, or I'm having a problem of reading. That aspect and that fear is most in most people. And what attempts create that is trauma of self-confidence, which is lacking in an individual. Because most people, like you hear some people are saying, I'm feeling nervous.
Yes.
I'm feeling a heartbeat when I'm going to speak. I'm sweating when I'm speaking in public.
Yes.
You see people who are sweating when they're speaking. You see even they're cleaning their face using their handkerchief. Those are anxiety indicators. You have already that fear. The mind is an engine.
Yes.
Once you hit an engine, it gives a hitback of the knock.
Yes.
It's the same thing like that. Once you give fear to the mind, there is already fear that you have created within the system that goes through your blood circulations.
And talking of fear, Wani, speaking is one of the capabilities we acquire early in our lives as human beings. At age 1, the kid is able to say, Mama, Baba, we are already speaking. All right. And then as we grow on, we learn our first language, we acquire the languages, and we interact with people more. And speech is not supposed to be a challenge anymore, because this is something we acquire so much early in our lives, But the paradox again is that as we grow again, we still fear the same thing we have been facing for a very long time. Where's the paradox come from? Yeah.
You see, as we grow, when we are young, they use sounds, they use signs for us to learn how to speak.
Yes.
You don't tell your son father, but you tell your son papa. You tell your son or your daughter mama. You don't pronounce it well, because you wanted to create, like as they say in early child learning, sounds is the best thing that is used for children, like in early child education. That's why you see there are a lot of sounds, there are a lot of pictures, because that is a mode that had been used. And after leaving that stage of childhood, where you are trained that my father is called papa, my mom is called mama, and then my uncle is called uncle.
Yes.
All that contributes to the growth, to that cognitive mind, that transition of thinking, that transition of pronunciation is very important. At that stage, we give it children that scenario. And we tell them, when you perform well in the class, I'll buy for you this. But you don't tell, when you speak well, I'll buy for you this. You see, these are two things.
Yeah.
So we give less critical thinking into the minds of children than giving them a sober minds of a corrupted mind, that for you to get this thing, you have to read very hard, you have to pass exam. They will do everything to do it. But you're not saying, okay, for you to pass well, you need to speak well, you need to speak a good English, you need to write a good English grammar, okay? You need to stand in front of people and address, okay? That's why you look at our curriculum in terms of our education is also having a challenge in terms of that. So that is very important when it comes to public speaking. Fear and that cognitive gap that we have in terms of, or let's say in terms of personality development, is a bit, there is a bit of gaps when it comes to that, because there is that connection that you need from childhood, that after training a child to do something, not without some education to your child or to your growth in aspect of your life. And one of the greater speaker that I admire is Tony Robinson. Tony is a critical thinker. And Tony says once, in our life is mostly our psychology contributes 90%.
Right.
Okay, in terms of our thinking, in terms of our networking, in terms of our communication, in terms of our ability, in terms of our leadership. That means that aspect of 90% in our lifetime is contributed through psychology. Our psychology contributes a lot. For you to network, for you to social network, for you to think is very important. That is 90%. And your skills, which is 10% of your life, complete that composition of 100%. So that means if you don't have that critical thinking where you use your mind to think, it will become very difficult for you even to execute your skills of communication, which is at the attribute of 10%.
Okay.
So that is the aspect that we look at, that gap between childhood and then in terms of our adult kind of communication. But you see that some children, that their setup was very well from childhood. When they speak, like you have ever watched this great public speaking, I'm sure you attended most of the Stephen Covey's show, where you ask yourself, is that a kid? How comes?
Yeah.
It's because the parents contribute a lot in terms of their growth, in terms of their thinking, in terms of translation. You know, that self facilitations in terms of performance of the brain is very important. So once you started building a child to that level, even every neighbor will admire your child, because the way your child thinks is different from the rest of the from the children, because you have different setup in terms of how you want your children to grow, in terms of communication, in terms of school performance. That sequences of life is very important. Even to avoid like anxiety during when you're grown up now, you fear speaking, because most of the things, those are the things that brings anxiety. And then the other thing is also confidence. Most people they lack confidence, self-esteem in themselves, that I can't do this. Okay. The other aspect here is that brings that aspect is limited research or limited knowledge. For you to be a good speaker, you should invest your time in reading, and that reading calculates your mind. It boosts your thinking. It boosts your analytical direction. You become rich in terms of knowledge. If somebody tells you, I think South Sudan is dying because of poverty of the mind, somebody is trying to say there is too much illiteracy in us in terms of reading, in terms of reading books. Most of them people say, okay, he's a graduate, but that graduate is not seen in him. He's a PhD holder, but that PhD is not seen in him. Okay, it's because we are more on handouts, readers, than reading for building your career, building your eloquence in terms of speaking.
Let me maybe interject that one here, and talking of anxiety that comes, even if we are graduates or we are known to have mastered our work. This is my experience. I would work on some material, right? I would master it, do further research. And when it is the time for me to go and present it on a stage, the fear and the anxiety that you mentioned earlier kicks in. It kind of kicks in automatically. And I'm like, what is missing now? I know the material very well. And I, you know, this is something I have even written. People don't speak about. I have written it. So I should be totally comfortable to go and present it to, like, you know, to the audience. But then it doesn't happen like that in real life. I become anxious. You talk of sweaty palms before. It talks of, you know, struggling with the voice. And also, all of a sudden, I need my handkerchief. I need to find my handkerchief. I'll be like, what is missing again? You know? And if it is fear, where is the fear coming from? I'm supposed to be like, wow, I got the moment of my life now, and I'm going to you know, to share the thing I have been wanting so much to share with people. But then it starts with fear. Why do we think negatively about ourselves when we are starting to speak in public? Yeah.
You know, that fear comes as a result of giving a negative boost to your body system, like the blood, like your brain. Once you have given that, wow, the nerves even gives you a different direction, that there is that danger that I'm coming to speak. You know, I have this, I have ABCD. That way, it even trigger more, because now you'll start sweating, you'll have a high heartbeat, and then you start developing. But most of those things comes as a result of not giving enough time for yourself to prepare for that speech.
Okay. And then there are people who go on the stage and then speak as if they are, like, you know, very, very calm in the room alone. Where do they get the confidence from? Why are they different, these people? These are the people here. Yeah.
You see, that is when it comes to personality. Personality.
Yes.
Growth in terms of how always you put yourself, that how you love yourself when it comes to what you do and how you represent yourself is very important. Okay? That's why you see people who deals with communication, public relation, marketing, strategist. You see them at times, they are very smart. Okay? One of the aspects is attracting the attention of your body stories to the audience.
Yes.
Okay? The first thing you see like those diplomats, when they come, the first thing they have to get up and first you look, they dress well.
Yes.
That diplomatic portfolio that they put in them. That those suits, those good looking suits.
Yes.
Okay? That is a first impression. Preparing yourself for a mission, preparing yourself for a specific bilateral discussion as a politician, as a marketeer, as a teacher. Okay? That's why they say a good teacher must dress well. Because the impression is children, once they see a very smart teacher, they prepare their mind that whatever comes from the mind of the teacher is also smart. Okay? So that's in terms of it. And then there are 4 things. There is what we call the 3S when it comes to public speaking.
Yes.
Okay? You need to reason. You need to reveal. And you need resolution to whatever you wanted to present or to whatever you wanted to speak. Does a story prepares you or give that image to the audience for that specific presentation? Like you see, when Obama was when he was starting his speech, I think when he was starting his speech, he was mostly looking at, in terms of his career, putting his story, the story of my father.
Yes.
How he uses the story of his father to convince the audience on how his past lifestyle and his current lifestyle, that bringing relation between his parental lineage and then the current lineage being as an American. Okay? So that alone gives him a confidence of attracting the audience to the story that he wants. And then using his slogan, yes, we can. Okay? That slogan alone is a tool that has created Obama to build that confidence in all his speeches for those 2 terms. He really monopolized the audience. He really, now people say Obama is the best speaker. Right?
And by the way,
because,
talking of the power of the story, oh, I'm sorry, talking of the power of the story in a speech, I have seen great speakers in the past, even in the name of some national leaders like John Garang, who would start a speech and then come in with the stories, and people would begin to pay attention the moment a personal story is shared, or maybe a similar story is shared. How powerful are stories in the quality of public speeches that we give?
Thank you. I think when it comes to stories, it's a therapy. Story gives a feeling. Story gives confidence. Story builds trust. Story gives that empathy. Okay? Story gives a reflection. Okay? So the reason why these people are using stories, it's always good to put yourself in my shoes on what exactly I want you to feel. And you see, that is how they use the circumstance in terms of using story to bring a therapy. You see, during the struggle, most people, they use like those boosting kind of songs.
Yes.
There's no food. But because they use those stories, they use those to build confidence, to push for whatever they want to do. And that's what they used to do. And most people, you see, why they're starting putting their story. Most of the leaders, great leaders, they are good storytellers. And there are people who came from a very poor background. Look at those of Stephen Job.
Yes.
Look at Churchill. Look at Kennedy. Kennedy. These are great people who uses their stories to build audience. Their stories to translate how they want the future to be, how they need this next phase in their life to be. Like as a father, always now work very hard. You want your children not to face whatever you're facing in your life. Okay? That's why you're giving your best to them, so yet the genesis does not continue in terms of your suffering lineage. Okay? That is why most people use stories to translate, to bring that feeling. Okay? It's very important. That's why people use a lot of stories. Like if you look at the psychologists, they use some play, they use some storytelling, they use music to bring whatever trigger your mind to a negative thought. Okay? Whatever they use to translate that feelings to success is by using stories. And that's why most people they're good storytellers.
And by the way, my experience with storytelling, actually, like way back when we were in primary school, there would be this agriculture teacher, in class 3 and 4. This person would come with his agriculture notebook, or was it exercise book or teacher's guide, throw it on the table, give us the topic of the day, and then he would begin to talk about whatever they were whatever they were going through when they were in Ethiopia. This is somebody who's come from the military background. He will say, like, when we were in Ethiopia, this used to happen. When we were in Bongo, this and this used to happen. And then we would pay attention. Like, I would personally wait for an agriculture session. Every time this teacher is on the timetable, I do not want to miss. Like, the stories were my thing. And sometimes when the story is told, people find themselves in the story. They also know, this is something that I can relate to. But sometimes, like, would there be, as we talk about the topic of the day, for example, and we use more stories, would there would be a conflict or maybe competition for space? Which one should we focus on, the stories or the topic of the day? Or how much of stories should I add into my public speech to create the balance? Uh-huh.
It's normally depends on what kind of speech you're going to give,
uh-huh.
and what kind of audience that you're going to give that speech to.
Uh-huh.
Unless if you're giving a motivational speech, you use most of your stories. Okay?
Uh-huh.
And that is a driving factor, because you wanted to transform someone through your stories. You wanted to bring that empathy that you have, somebody should have for you. Okay? Like mostly you see people who had very terrible stories in their life. Right. They are given a platform to share their stories. It's because it's a therapy. It's a healing process. It's one of the psychosocial kind of network that people are trying to build, that integrity, that personality in somebody who has a lot of hope in himself. Okay? That's very important. That's why you go to some speech, you feel like if somebody's speaking, you feel like not sleeping. But let somebody start speaking, even in church, you will start dozing. It's because you have put that a mindset that this person speaks better than the other one. Or the other person's speech bores you. Okay? And that's why exactly people use speeches in terms of stories, in terms